The Y Factor.
So we're moving on to our next segment, which is basically, as we were mentioning before, about the I debate that's happening on the 25th of this month. So that's next Friday, inshallah. And joining us in the studio today is Brother Sadiq Ansari, who will be one of the debaters on the night. He's also an organiser, and he's here today in his capacity as an organiser. Also joining us is a former friend of the show and repeat guest.
Former friend. I'm still your friend.
That's why we're bringing you back today. Brother Ahmed Kilani of Muslim Village. Thank you for joining us on the show today.
Thank you.
Okay, so first things first, tell us a little bit about this event, Brother Sadiq.
Well, this is our fifth I debate that we're having, and the whole purpose of these I debates is to provide a platform where Muslims can, in an intellectual and yet in an entertaining way, debate contemporary issues, and instead of having a lot of negative heat from debate, putting it in a positive way to discuss issues that concern us and interest us and be informed. And also you can learn about a topic much better when you hear it from two opposing views and let the listener themselves choose what they think. And Brother Ahmed was in the first I debate, and now he's in the fifth one as well.
Okay, well, let's go into what the topic is actually about, because this is a pretty juicy topic and a lot of people have been talking about it coming up to the event now. The topic, as the brochure says, is Islamic movements should not get involved in politics, which is a pretty polarised way of putting it already. We've got two sides, obviously, on the debate. There's the side that's arguing Islamic movements should be involved in politics. Brother Ahmed, which side are you arguing?
That they shouldn't.
Why did you come to that conclusion?
Well, do you want me to have the debate now and give away all my arguments?
Well, we do want people to attend the debate, which, by the way, is going to be at 7 p.m. Do you want to give us a couple more details, Brother Sadiq, about that?
Yes, this is the fifth one we're having, and actually we've chosen to go in partnerships with Muslim Village. It will be next Friday night at the PARKROYAL Hotel in Parramatta. It's Phillip Street, 30 Phillip Street, and for those that are interested, there'll be parking for $7 flat rate.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the event.
Always important in Parramatta. And we've got Walid Ali, Dr. Chris Houston and Keysar Trad on the side arguing for Islamic movements in politics. Can you give us a little bit of background about the speakers?
Yep, so Walid Ali, he's well known in the community. He's the principal of Unity Grammar, and he's been also active for a few decades, or at least.
He's not the Walid Ali from Melbourne, too.
He's not the Walid Ali from Melbourne.
This is a very Sydney debate, I think.
Dr. Chris Houston, he's an anthropology, I think he's the head of anthropology department at Macquarie University, and he's spent time in Muslim countries and he teaches culture and the religion of Islam at Macquarie University. And Keysar Trad, I think he's from the Australian Friendship Association, and we'll have him online. He can introduce himself. Ahmed Kilani we have here. Professor Greg Barton, he specialises in Islamic movements. Mm-hmm. He's written a book about the some of the movements in Indonesia and Turkey, so he'll be a bit of from an academic perspective, and one person, myself as well.
Inshallah. Okay. Maybe what we'll do is we're going to give you a minute to get your thoughts together and get ready for this, because we're hoping for some really, juicy, conflict-rising kind of tidbits of information.
We don't want to fight here, though. But
No. Just thought-provoking. It's an intellectual discussion. Very academic, if you like it to be. But we're just also going to get Brother Keysar Trad on the line so that he can join us for the debate.
The Y Factor.
And we're back again with the Y Factor and our special guests from the I debate for today. We're also joined by Brother Keysar Trad on the line, who will be one of the debaters, as we mentioned, next week, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the show, Brother Keysar.
Thank you for inviting me.
You're very welcome. Okay, so there was a suggestion in the studio here that we get you to kick us off with a little bit of the the topic that you'll be discussing next week, inshallah. And so why don't you give us a little bit of an idea as to, why you think that Islamic movements should actually be involved in politics?
We as a society have to see Islamic movements as part and parcel of society. They are part and parcel of the democratic process, whether they believe in it or not. They have to be part and parcel of it, and they have to be not only willing to vote, but also given the opportunity to air their views and their concerns. And any time a person is given the freedom to air their views, that is participation in the political process. To deny them that would be denying people the right to have an opinion, the right to a free opinion, and would be a denial of the right to participate in a democratic system. And by all means, they should be able to participate, and they should be able to see it.
I can see some disapproving facial expressions in the studio. So, Brother Ahmed, what do you think about this?
No. We can't have Islamic movements getting involved in politics, which is probably one of the dirtiest games there is around these days, full of agendas, interest groups, lobbying, so many different factors, when at the end of the day, Islamic movements and Islam in general is there to help build up people as individuals, to make them better, and then also then work on making society better. But it all starts with the individual.
But don't you think that's enough of a reason for Islamic movements to get involved in politics?
They can't get involved in politics unless the people are ready themselves, unless the people are followers. And the example I used is of Egypt, where you can't impose Islamic rule on people, even if they're Muslim, that are not willing to accept it and are not ready to accept it because they're not actually living it on a day-to-day basis in their own lives. So you need to concentrate on helping people become better human beings. If that's what politics is about, is improving society, then we should just focus on helping individuals help themselves to become better people, and then society will change. So, but to go and try and impose your sort of way of thinking upon people, I don't think it works. And it's rejected, and it was rejected in Egypt, and it can be rejected elsewhere.
Brother Keysar, do you agree with that?
Look, this is really what I call sophistry. This is trying to twist the debate to throw in a completely wrong twist and a completely wrong agenda and a completely wrong interpretation on the issue. We keep arguing that there are groups within the Muslim community that isolate themselves from the society and speak in terms of them and us. Now, we don't want members of our community to speak in terms of them and us. We want members of our community to understand that we are part of humanity. And whatever country we live in, we are citizens of that country. And as citizens, not only do we have a right, we also have a responsibility. Now, the Egypt example is being twisted again. Now, the Egyptian people voted for the particular government that was in charge, and a military coup dislodged that government. Why did the military coup dislodge the government? Because there's been ingrained corruption that has existed for 50 years in Egypt, or longer than 50 years, and it was not that easy to overcome that ingrained corruption and the counter-revolutionary forces that tried to overthrow it. Now, to say that they were imposing rules, etc.,
yes,
that is absolute nonsense. What is happening?
The Islamic movement should have tried to focus on getting rid of the corruption in the society.
Well, look, the people voted for a political party. The people voted for a particular political party whose members were God-fearing. Some of its members were of a different religion as well. It had Christian members as well as Muslim members. Just because some of these people believe in a religion which happens to be a Muslim religion does not mean that they should not have the right where they have the aptitude. They have the political aptitude, they have the political will, they made the sacrifices, they are part of Egyptian society, and they have every right to be nominated, to become candidates, and to be elected as members of the government. And a military coup is never a justification for the overthrow of democracy in Egypt or anywhere else for that matter. What we should be arguing is against that coup and bringing the perpetrators of that coup to justice.
Just on that point then, following on, my question for Brother Ahmed then is, let's use Australia as the example given that we're here. What do you propose Australian Muslims do to participate in Australian society generally, given that the Australian political system ultimately has effects on their everyday life?
Well, for example, if I went and said to you, let's go form an Australian Islamic political party. We're going to go register the Australian Islamic political party, and we're going to go out there to this community and to Australian society and say, we're the Australian Islamic Party, and we're going to bring justice and Islamic principles to Australian society. What will happen, do you think? It will be utterly and completely rejected by the people. Because the people in general are so frightened, so scared of Islam at the moment because of the things that are happening in the media and agendas and the way that Islam is portrayed. And even Muslims themselves are very negative towards other Muslims. So same with the argument in Egypt. The problem is the way that politics works and power works on a global scale. It is very, very hard for you to go and if you look at what Islam is about, it's about trying to help create a better world for everybody, be it human beings, society in general.
Don't you think Sharia creates a better world for everybody?
Sharia, unless it's understood properly by the people, it cannot be implemented upon the people, and it will be unjust to implement it on the people.
Can I just add one thing? That it's always very difficult to word the wording of the debate, the title. But it's two keywords I'll say is Islamic movements. So the question is not should average citizens be involved, but it's Islamic movements.
Do you want to define Islamic movements for us then?
I'll leave that open for the different teams, and it's a bit difficult.
Okay.
For the night, yeah, they can take their own interpretation of it, but it's Islamic movements, and definitely you can consider Ikhwan al-Muslimin, Muslim Brotherhood, as one Islamic movement. Or other examples exist as well, and should not get involved in politics. How they interpret the word involved, that's open to debate itself.
Because I think as Muslims we'll all agree on the ends with this, but I think the debate, where I'm coming from, is, Islam has always been a bottom-up religion. You build the people, and it builds a society, and then the leadership will come.
Yeah.
But at the moment, you can't go a top down. You can't put a leadership on top and then try and impose it upon the people. It does not work, and I think that's what the problem is.
But how about the example of Turkey?
Yes.
Erdogan, he didn't necessarily jump right in with all the Islamic principles, but he has implemented a fair bit here and there. He's seen as an Islamist.
Yes. How long did it take for that to they've been working for 70 years to get to where they are now.
But
That's
you can
how long
argue
it's
that the
taken.
people are not ready for it either, because there are certainly, not everybody is open to the idea.
Yes.
They're very much entrenched in a secular society kind of concept, and
Yes.
yet they're not falling apart like
Well,
Egypt is.
let's look at it at the moment. Turkey only just last month, actually, a few weeks ago, revoked the laws allowing hijab to be worn in public and government buildings. Now you're talking about, the government's
Sorry,
Islamic.
the laws banning.
They've taken. You're allowed to wear hijab now.
You now
So
are
sorry,
allowed,
yes. So look, that's an Islamic movement, but they're very wise and they're moving very, very slowly in the way that they're doing it, because they realise you can't just all of a sudden change the rules on everybody, especially like you said, it's a secular society. So they're taking probably the same approach that we're saying, that I'm debating, is that yes, you do get involved in politics, not necessarily as an Islamic movement, but as a movement that helps people, empowers people, teaches them, creates the environment for the people to be able to practice their religion more, rather than trying to go out there and be a political party that goes and pushes. Like I said, Muslim Brotherhood was rejected pretty much by the people at the end. It divided the country in half because the people weren't ready to accept.
But the Muslim Brotherhood also started off by trying to effect change in society. First of all, they were known for their charitable works, for their lectures, that kind of thing. And then they moved into politics, which is similar to what happened in Turkey as well. The reactions were very different. You've got two viewpoints here. You're saying, first of all, you said that, no, there shouldn't be Islamic movements involved in politics, and now you're saying, no, they can be, but first, there's a couple of steps to get there.
Just one thing, if you've been following Turkish news in the last 10 years, you would say that, but if you're aware of what's happening in the last few decades, you wouldn't say that. Actually, Erdogan was part of an Islamic movement as a political party. They left that Islamic movement. Now they're a political party. They're not Islamic movement anymore.
So differentiating between the
Yes. So they took off that full Islamic identity. Of course, his wife still wears the hijab, but they're no longer the representative of Islamic movement. They're called the Justice and Development Party, and that's it.
That's like the Freedom and Justice Party.
Well, Egypt, I think they did do that, but then once they gained power, they actually they put all Brotherhood members in place everywhere, and it became a default Brotherhood movement.
Brother Keysar, what do you say to all of this?
Look, I don't think the debate is about criticising one particular political party, whether it's a Brotherhood or whether it's any other party at all. It is whether Islamic movements can or should participate in politics. And the example that was used before about establishing an Islamic party, and that's not put on the table. That's not part of the debate. But I just want to answer that anyway. Fred Nile has a Christian Democratic Party, and it is a clearly religious party. And it clearly has support by enough people to have a couple of members in Parliament. Now, when that is the case, and you see that this is what the people want, in a democratic system, the people want to hear religious voices for entering the debate. They want to see what the religious position is. Just recently, a number of religious groups formed the Australian Religious Response to Climate Change. Now, dealing with climate change is probably one of the hottest political issues of the day, and religious groups got involved in it. Why? Because we have to work hard together to save this planet. This is a political action. It's a political movement. It's It doesn't involve nominating candidates to be elected, but it involves putting pressure on the existing candidates. And if we look at the existing political party in Australia, Labor and Liberal, the major parties, both of them had religious people in charge of the party. Kevin Rudd is a religious person from a very religious family, and Tony Abbott was studying to be a priest. Now, you can't tell me that religion does not in any way influence these people.
I think we're bordering on two debates here.
Just let me finish the point. Tony Abbott made a promise that he would have a Christian cabinet. And he put devoted or devout Christians into his cabinet.
Sorry, when did he make that promise?
I don't remember him making that promise.
No, excuse me.
He backflipped on his religious
I haven't
stances
finished.
in some regards.
Excuse me, I haven't finished. Now, in that particular context, we have clearly religious people, very Christian people, who are leading this country now. And in this particular case, we don't see society criticising a Christian movement or a Christian group for participating in the political process. In fact, we are welcoming this participation because one of the very important things that Tony Abbott has promised is protecting the integrity of marriage, something that is very important to us as Muslims as well. If Islamic movements are not involved in politics, then
so do you believe by involvement you're talking about actually running for office, or are you
involvement can include running for office, can include commenting on the political process, can include commenting on policies. For example, when religious groups hold meetings together and they come up to particular points with respect to various issues, they actually lobby the government to address these issues in a manner that is favourable to them. That is involving in the political process. That is one form of involvement. There are many forms of involvement in the political process, and to exclude a section of society just because they're religious, whether that religion is Muslim or otherwise, is wrong. That is contrary to the right of freedom of expression. It's contrary to the right to participate.
I'm sorry, I'm just going to have to cut across you there because we are a minute away from Maghrib Adhan, which we are going to have to go out to. Faye, sorry, you just wanted to jump in with a comment?
I think we're nearly bordering on two parallel debates, and I think this will come out more in the actual debate next Friday night. And the idea I think I'm getting from the affirmative side is that it's not that Muslims should not be involved in political systems in general, it's that Islamic movements should not get involved in politics. So certainly what I'm understanding is that Aussie Muslims, for example, should get involved in whether they attach themselves to Liberal or Labor or whatever, or do whatever they want, but it's not Islamic movements.
Exactly.
Okay, and I'm really going to have to cut it off there so we can go to Maghrib Adhan because we can't be late for that. This has been fascinating, and I will be back after Adhan with the details reconfirmed so everyone can attend the debate and ask their questions and listen to your viewpoints next week, inshallah. But for now, we're just going to go straight to Maghrib Adhan. You're listening to The Y Factor on 87.6 FM.
The Y Factor.
Brother Sadiq is still with us. Just let's wrap up. I have to say, one pressing question I had throughout all of that, and especially through Brother Keysar Trad's talk, was, the idea of political movements in Australia. I mean, we've got hizb-ut-tahrir, and you always get the impression that there's a lot of community backlash against them for their sort of like political viewpoints. I noticed that they're not actually in the debate at all. Why is that?
We've invited quite a number of people over the past few years, so it's not always very intentional, but I don't know if hizb-ut-tahrir is an Islamic movement or a political party. And secondly, their views are quite, if I use like a better word, unique in a way. Like they're against any involvement in any type of politics. For example, I believe their position is against voting and so on.
In Australia, yeah. I think their political aspect is more about
establishing the khilafah and all that. But within Australia, so it's no voting, no this, so it's a bit of a black and white approach. And I think this debate has different levels of shades. There's different arguments. There are people who are for involvement, but of different types. So we wanted to bring out those different, more articulate voices.
I'd definitely be interested in listening to some of their reactions, inshallah. But Brother Sadiq, did you want to add anything to arguments that were mentioned before?
No, I think hearing the two different sides, it's sometimes it comes down to definition, how you define the debate, and hopefully the speakers will have a common ground. And other than that, I think if people feel passionate about this, they should come and they should vote on the night.
At 7 p.m. for a 7:30 p.m. start, inshallah, at the PARKROYAL Hotel, and that's the 25th of October. next Friday, inshallah. It's $10. There is a fee attached. If you want to register, you can either call 96499040 or you could send an email to info@isra.org.au. And we've also got the trailer and the details on our Facebook group and Facebook page if you would like to pursue that online.
Yeah, keep your ideas coming, guys. Anything you've heard from tonight that you agree with, disagree with, want to add to, let us know your thoughts online, and keep the discussion going until this really interesting debate next week. And there is parking, guys.
Yeah, that's
And
always important for Parramatta.
If someone has a burning question, if they send it to Y Factor in advance, we could take those questions and perhaps ask them from the speakers on the night.
Yeah, inshallah, we'd be very happy to pass those on. Thank you very much for joining us today.
No worries.
brothers.
Thank you. See you guys next week.
Thank you.